Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So, indeed, I looked into the program and it said philosophy of life hacking, and that's where the problem started. I was figuring out what does he want me to talk about. Because the problem is this, in my opinion, most philosophy is useless. And most life hacking I find rather senseless. So usually if you combine something that's senseless with something that's useless, it doesn't get better. It's like compound negative interest, but that's the new normal of today, so I thought, well, let's go with that. Let's go with that. So, what does philosophy say or want you to do? The old Greeks said, gnotis auton, know yourself, reflect upon yourself, you examine yourself. So if you want to live a good life, try to do that. Study philosophy. If you're very lucky, very unlikely, you're very lucky, you get a really good professors, a really good place to study philosophy. You get your master in philosophy, and if you're really lucky, then you know nothing. Your master of philosophy is really the best places you can study philosophy, you know nothing. So you continue to study philosophy, and maybe you do your PhD, and if you're really lucky, and you get the best professor out there, and you spend your years on your PhD, then you know what you don't know. And that's great. It's the starting point of philosophy. If you're really lucky, you know what you don't know. And then, of course, you'll spend another decade figuring out how to answer those questions. And sometimes, highly unlikely, but sometimes, after a few decades, you say, Heureka! I figured it out. I figured it all out. Now I know how to live the ideal life, how to pursue happiness and become a good person. But usually, if after decades of studying philosophy, you have this impression of Heureka, usually the most likely explanation is that you finally, you've gone completely nuts. Because if a philosopher says Heureka, usually he really misunderstands it. He thinks it means I figured it out, I got an insight from the inside of my mind. But actually that's not the meaning of Heureka. Heureka means I have discovered. And the discovery is something else. The discovery is the application of your mind to the real world, to real challenges. And most philosophers, in particular nowadays, don't really do that. So the big danger in doing philosophy is that you pursue knowledge, and you think you need to have knowledge in order to act. You need to be 100% certain. You need to read everything and know everything, and then you'll be ready to act, and you realize the point never comes. But if you go the way all down into bad philosophy, which is very tempting, you're going to say, oh, I figured it out. Now I know it all. And I got to tell you how you got to live your lives. And it's what most philosophers, most bad philosophers do. They try to tell you how to live your life. And usually they just try to make up for their own miserable existence or their own parasitical existence and are feeling really philosophical in determining how everyone else should live on the planet. So I think that's bad philosophy, and that's the most common philosophy. So one of the big insights of good philosophy is just do it. Just do it. But then if you try to do it, you figure out there's potentially another problem. Of course, the philosophy is warning about the unexamined life. It's just doing it. The big danger with the examined life is that you have the unlived life, which is a neurosis, as Erich Fromm has coined this term of the unlived life. But if you just do it, I think that the challenge was most eloquently put down by a great Viennese comedian of the past, Helmut Qualtinger. And he said very eloquently, Wurscht wohin, Hauptsache ich bin schneller dort. Let me translate that for you, it's challenging. I have no clue where I'm going, it only matters that I'm there fast. And that's the problem about just doing it, just living your life, because interestingly, you can waste your life by thinking about living your life, but you can also waste your life by living your life, because we have to be honest to ourselves, we are just naked apes. So if you just go like for your instinct and follow your passion and your feeling and what feels good, it may lead you somewhere good, but it may just lead you down to the ape-like existence, which feels great for a while, particularly if you're young. But after a while, most people realize that there's something missing. There's something which the philosophers call the soul. Not really obvious what that means. The psychologists call it the unconscious or the subconscious. There is something there in us longing to go beyond the ape. It means to transcend ourselves, to have meaning in our lives, and something that's not just pleasing and having sensual experiences. And a lot of the practical philosophy has been challenged with that issue, and what does it mean to live a meaningful life. And there's one paradoxical thing if you try to do shortcuts, and that's what life hacking or it means. That's how I get to understand it. It's you are looking for hacks. That means you're looking for shortcuts. You don't want to waste time, that's obvious. You think you know where you want to go, and you want to take the quick way, the fast way to where you think you know you're going to go. But the problem is you can't really know where you're going due to uncertainty. And uncertainty is really a crucial condition of human life. This is due to our liberty. A lot is uncertain, and to say I know precisely where I got to go and where I will be going, it's just about now taking the best and most efficient way to get there. Usually it's just a life business plans. To be honest, that's not how life turns out. There's a lot of serendipity, and it's a great thing about it. You learn by doing, but that changes, of course, the path you are taking. And if you only take the shortcuts, usually it's a big detour. You just look for a shortcut, and it's a big detour somewhere where you really don't want to end up in the end. So living the unexamined life may be challenging as well, and then you're stuck in the contradictions, and that's what I think good philosophy is about. It's really cherishing these contradictions which are inherent to life, and you can go, usually there are two extremes that Aristotle figured that out, and I think it's quite helpful to realize that with many existential things there are, seems like contradictions. It's like really aspects of your nature. We have a very dual nature, so there are in our soul there are lots of contradictions in the soul, and there's the contradiction between the immanent, the corporeal, the real, the concrete, and the transcendent, and the long-term, and the ethereal, and the spiritual, and so on. And you have, of course, contradiction between short-term and long-term shortcut, and going the long way. There's an interesting economic insight that very or relatively little value creation is done by shortcuts, interesting. Real value creation usually takes the hard way. That's what Böhm von Barbey called a roundabout way, or Umwegproduktion. So interestingly, he really thinks that it's by going a detour and not the shortcut, not by the hack, that real value is created. What does it mean? He realized that capital is of imminent importance, because capital gives you a lever, a big lever. And it may be even an Archimedes-like lever where you unhinge the planet. And what's capital? It's applying your mind to real challenges and the real world, and figuring out how it all fits together so that you find the hinge for your personal lever to really move stuff. And then, of course, transcends your ape-like existence, which is really just living from the hand in the mouth. And it's a very economic insight that just by living from the hand in the mouth to the mouth, not a lot of value is created. Most value nowadays is really division of labor in a highly complex capital order, which is by cooperating in finding our levers. And then you have compound levers, and this, of course, is the opposite of compound negative interest. It's compound cooperative value creation. Now, where is the contradiction in that? Of course, you can't always go for the uncertain, and entrepreneurship in the crucial sense is not for everyone, and I think there's a reason it's not for everyone, and even for the entrepreneur, it doesn't make sense just to go for the uncertain, because failure is unavoidable, but failure is not an end in itself. It's not like I just go where I have no clue and then I just fail and then I just learn. That usually is a waste of your potential. So you have to somehow balance your capacity of examining and learning errors from other people and filtering out all the potential bullshit errors that you may make. Won't help a lot, so you still will make or redo a lot of the errors others are doing because you need to learn, but you can at least avoid some of the failures, and you want to reduce failure, and you want to control uncertainty, and you want to challenge uncertainty by getting some certainty in some areas of your life. And that sometimes, of course, seems like a helpful illusion for yourself. Yeah? So, of course, a large part of entrepreneurs, you can't really distinguish them beforehand from lunatics. It's only afterwards that you can say, well, he's been successful. But in the beginning, they all look like lunatics. So the bad philosopher will tend to disparage all entrepreneurship because well, you got to figure it out before, you got to know it before. But then, of course, there's no need for the entrepreneur if you figured it out all before. So this is kind of a challenge. But just figuring it out without the reflection, of course, reduces the potential of your levers. I tend to think that one of the biggest insights of philosophy are to how to dynamically balance between those contradictions and then realizing where your hinge is for your personal lever in your life. And I think Goethe put it down quite well. He said, how do you know yourself? So not by reflection, not by just reflecting upon yourself every day, by doing. But doing what is the essential question. Goethe said, by doing what the day demands of you. And this, of course, sounds like duty, very German. But what he means is doing the things that only you can do, and that's why you should do them. That's really a kind of obligation that you begin to feel only you can do it. You're in a peculiar situation, only you can do it. That's why you should do it and why you should feel it as a duty. And that's how you can transcend a little bit that kind of funny but rather shallow ape-like existence. And then, of course, you try to take hacks and shortcuts in every things that you don't really care that much about, which are just instrumental to get somewhere, but you should never try to hack the things that you really, really care about, because then you may just go for shortcuts and miss out all the way in between, miss out all the potential that you have. So in that sense, I hope I inspired you a little bit to go for good philosophy, but I think most importantly is to avoid bad philosophy, and that's what most philosophy out there is. And a lot in personal growth and even entrepreneurial growth is not just really creating something with a clear, precise picture, but getting rid of the obstacles and letting it grow. You weed out, you get rid of the bugs, and so on. And then it's just like gardening. Things may grow, and you can't really shortcut or hack your own growth. So thanks a lot for listening. I cut short here, so you don't take too much of a detour today. Thanks.